All right, super quick video, 2.5, applying order of operations. Probably the hardest one is this first one. The other ones, pretty easy. Couple book works, couple homework ones, questions to answer. Make sure that you're showing all of your work for full points and not just copying my answer key. So for this first one, football one. So if you play football or know anything about football, this one probably makes sense to you. If you know nothing about football, like me, this problem was like pig Latin. I had no idea what they were talking about. There's several ways to measure an NFL quarterback skills. That's the guy who throws the ball. One numeric value that is highly correlated or related with success is the adjusted net passing yards per attempt. And I guess that's referred to as NEA for short. It summarizes a quarterback's passing performance in one number by rewarding touchdowns and deducting for interceptions and sacks. The formula is passing yards plus number of passing touchdowns times 20 minus the number of interceptions thrown times 45 minus sack yards lost divided by the number of passing attempts plus number of sacks. And that's a lot. So let's rewrite this formula as a vertical fraction. So we have that division sign like halfway through the formula. We're going to write it as a fraction, like up and down, like 3/2. And remove any unnecessary parentheses. We're going to define and use meaningful variables. So in that huge long formula that I just read to you, I'm going to assign variables for each thing. So passing yards, PY. Number of passing touchdowns, PT. Number of interceptions thrown is I. Sack yards lost, SYL. Number of passing attempts, I said was PA. And sacks was S. I just assigned variables that kind of maybe made sense. Instead of going A, B, C, D, E, I wanted to make them somewhat meaningful. Not that I know anything about football, so they're not really meaningful to me, but I feel like someone who maybe plays football might have a sense of what those variables mean. So then I also highlighted each of the signs that we had given to us so that when I piece it together in our fraction, I kind of know which signs I should be looking for. So it's passing yards plus 20 PT. So it was number of passing touchdowns times 20, and times 20, that was all in kind of parentheses there. So that means 20 times PT. Number goes first before the variable. And then we're going to subtract 45 interceptions thrown and then subtract sack yards lost. Then we have the division sign, so there's my vertical fraction bar, and we have number of passing attempts plus the number of sacks. So that formula, rewrote it, meaningful variables, done. For the next one, we want to find the NEA value for the player who has thrown the values given in this table. So we have completed passes, passing attempts, passing yards, passing touchdowns, interceptions, sacks, sack yards lost. What is their NEA? How good of a quarterback is this person? So the only one that we don't use is this completed passing. Otherwise, I filled in the corresponding variables for us. And then it's just a matter of plugging those numbers into our formula. So that's something that you'll need to do on your own. If you get it correct, you should have 8.87 So I do want you to actually plug those in. Just make sure you know how to do it. And then for part C, if a player wants to increase his NEA value, what should he do? So we're awarding points for longer distances of passing. So maybe if we increase lower the number of passes, so passing fewer times but further distances, so each throw goes farther. Increase the number of touchdowns, that's important to us. And then reduce the number of interceptions and sacks, because interceptions and sacks are not good for our team. If you know anything about football, if you don't, that's okay. I don't think that this problem is detrimental to your life if you don't know what any of that means. Okay, order of operations is this unit. There's the PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. There is some rationale to the hierarchy of the operations and how they relate. Multiplication is just repeated addition. Division is just repeated subtraction. Exponents are repeated multiplication. Roots are repeated division. So the things that are being repeated kind of go first. Addition and subtraction are at the bottom. You can read more up about it if you so choose. An example using order of operations. Number 2, we're simplifying each expression using the correct order of operations. Hopefully this one was easy. A, 4 minus negative 3. Same thing as 4 plus 3, we get 7. D is 4 minus the absolute value of negative 3. Well, the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So we have 4 minus 3, which is 1. Part C, 4 minus, and then in parentheses, negative 3 squared. Negative 3 squared is negative 3 times negative 3, which is positive 9. So 4 minus 9 gives us negative 5. Part D is 4 minus negative 3, which is 4 plus 3 squared. 4 plus 3 is 7 squared, and that gives us 49. More on how it works. Steps are shown, all that if you need a little bit extra help. Part C, essentially the same thing. I didn't really see too much difference there. Again, we're just following the order of operations. 3 plus 5 squared. 5 squared is 25 plus 3, 28. 7 minus 3, and then in parentheses, 2 minus 6 squared. Well, we have to do the parentheses first, so we get negative 4. We can square the negative 4, which gives us a positive 16, and then I can multiply by the negative 3. Do not multiply 3 times negative 4 and then square it. Only the negative 4 is being squared, and exponents are before multiplication. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see students making, is that piece. And our answer is negative 41. Next one, we have the square root, but inside of that we have an exponent, so I need to do 2 squared first. Then within that square root, I still have multiplication, so I need to multiply, and then I can do the square root of 64. I have a division, 8 divided by 4. That comes before subtraction, so I get 2, and my final answer is 62. And then the last one is actually a quadratic formula, if you were able to catch on to that. So we're doing everything under the square root first. We have the exponent, so I did that. And then at the same time, I also multiplied, because one isn't really dependent on the other. So I was able to do those two at the same exact time. And then I'm able to add them, take the square root, and simplify from there. Question number 4, evaluate the expression 2 minus 3x squared divided by 2 when x equals -2. And then they're telling you what to do in case you didn't know. By replacing x with -2 and simplifying. Hopefully that last piece was like, well, I knew that. So I just plugged in -2 for x. And then remember, it's -2 squared comes first. We do not multiply 3 times -2 first. That does not happen. You have to square the -2 first. You get 4. And then you can multiply, subtract, divide, and it's being covered up. -5 is our final answer for that one. And I believe that is it for this homework or the bookwork section. Go ahead and do the homework section. Make sure that you are showing all of your work for the full credit. Email me if you have any questions.